Well, hello there. How are you doing today? Do you feel like doing a little bit of DIYing with me today? Well, come on in. Let's get started. What do I have going on for you for today? Well, today I thought I'd show you how I transformed my bathroom cabinets using, some of WAVERLY'S chalk paint. This is one you are not going to want to miss. WAVERLY'S chalk paint is a super budget-friendly chalk paint. It's an acrylic chalk paint, and I tell you, I've been using it for several years. Once I started using it, there was really no going back to just a basic apple barrel acrylic paint unless I really needed to. I absolutely love WAVERLY'S paint. I was so distraught when Walmart stopped carrying it and they went to that Hello Hobby because that just wasn't it cheap. I did not like that paint at all, but my Walmart finally did away with the Hello Hobby. They brought back the WAVERLY and they brought it back with a lot of the new colors, a ton of different bottle sizes. You've got a large, a medium, and a small, those sample sizes. And I was excited to actually try and redo my bathroom cabinets using this. I've got a guest bathroom that I really kind of wanted to redo the cabinets because they're about 22 years old and I have stained them, I have oiled them, and I just feel like they're starting to look dated, they're starting to look wore out, and frankly, I'm just kind of sick of the look of them. I wanted to change the look of them. And so I have been doing some research, watching some videos, trying my hand at chalk painting furniture, and I think I've got the hang of it enough to give it a go on these cabinets. So let me show you how I transformed my bathroom cabinets with just a couple bottles of WAVERLY'S chalk paint in the color of ivory. You're not gonna wanna miss this. Alrighty, so jumping on into this transformation, these are the cabinets that I will be transforming. And as they are very nice cabinets, when you stare at something for 22 years, you kind of want to change. They're looking a bit dated, but I don't want to replace the countertop or the cabinets because these are such nice cabinets. So yeah, the alternative would be to transform them, painting them. When researching and kind of looking up painting, I found that the route I wanted to go was the chalk paint round because it was easiest and most forgiving. I'm not gonna take the doors off to do this. Now, I know somebody's gonna come after me in the comment section saying if I'm gonna do this, I should do it right and I should remove the doors. I don't want to. Quite honestly, I just don't want to deal with trying to get them back on. I feel like if I remove them, they never go back on the same way, and so that's just not something I want to deal with. But I am, however, going to remove all of the knobs. And if you ask me where these knobs came from, I couldn't tell you because they were on the cabinets when we bought the house, and the house was only a year old when we bought it. Yeah, Winnie just always keeps me company when I'm doing my DIYs, and she just wants to make her presence known. She saw the camera, so she just thought, well, I gotta make an appearance. And yeah, and it's so funny because once she comes in, typically all the dogs will come in and they all just, who else does this happen to? Like, you can't focus on a job when your dog comes in and is just looking at you and smiling. And Winnie does smile. She looks up at me and she just smiles, and I love her smiles. And of course, I just have to stop whatever I'm doing and pay attention to her because, oh, here comes Willow. Willow's fur is finally starting to grow back in. She's got a little bit of wave. Oh, and here comes Biza. Yeah, we're just having a dog party in this small bathroom, and they all just think that it's okay to be in there, and it is until I start painting. Kind of a funny story, when we bought this house 22 years ago, I was never a fan of the toilet paper holder, the towel holder, and the towel rack. Didn't much like the design because of the handles on them. They're these round kind of handles, and dust gets stuck in there and it just accumulates and it's really hard to clean. And I've never liked them, and for whatever reason, I've never replaced them. But you know what? Since I'm doing these cabinets now, this was a good excuse to do away with them and find some that I really like. And these are the ones that I picked out on Amazon. I wanted to go with something rustic, but I didn't want to go too farmhousey. Farmhousey, is that a word? Well, it is now. And I wanted to go with something that would tie into the leaf knobs that I have on the cabinets now and not take away from them. Found these on Amazon for about $26 for the full set, and I just thought, these are perfect, and this is the route I'm gonna go. I need to fill in those existing holes, so I'm gonna do that using this Minwax wood filler. I don't want to go the route of using a spackling because I don't know why. I just am going to go with wood filler because the cabinets are wood, and that's what you fill holes in wood with, is wood filler by Minwax. It's stainable, but we're not staining it, we're painting it. Now with this wood filler, it is a little grainy on the sandy side. So once you do put it in, you can take a sponge and kind of wipe over it to smooth it out, or you can just let it dry and take a light grade sandpaper and kind of sand over it. And that was what I did because I really didn't want to have the circular indentations coming through the paint. And so I just thought it would be best if I just filled them, let it dry, and then smoothed out the gritty wood filler stuff. Before painting my cabinets, it is recommended to give them a good cleaning, and the product that I found that was recommended to do this for cabinets or furniture is TSP, trisodium phosphate. It's a heavy-duty cleaner, and it really cleans the surface and helps prepare it for painting. And when using this stuff, it's supposed to help with the durability of the paint and to help the paint adhere better onto whatever surface it is that you are painting, because you cleaned it and kind of dried it out and removed all those oils and greases. Now, when using this, it is a half a cup of TSP to 2 gallons of water. And so it's a very concentrated cleaner. You do want to use gloves, high gloves, because if it does get on your skin, it kind of starts to burn a little bit. When using this, you will want to go in after you wipe it down with the TSP and kind of rinse it off with just a regular clean, warm water. When mixing the TSP, I will also tell you that you do want to mix it with a hot water. And there is quite a bit of a difference I saw after I cleaned my cabinets with it. It's not something you want to clean your cabinets with all the time because it does kind of dry them out and bring all those oils to the surface, which then helps you paint and have a better outcome with it adhering onto the surface. Now that my cabinets are good and clean and dry and ready to paint, I am going to take some blue painter's tape, cover up that hardware, because again, I am not removing my doors. I'm not saying you should or shouldn't, but if you're like me and you just don't want to remove them, go ahead, put some blue painter's tape on there, cover them up, take a straight edge razor or an X-Acto knife, cut around the hardware so you get a nice clean edge. And that way you're not going to get paint all over your hardware when you paint the inside, because I am doing the inside and the out because, yeah, I do want it to look finished. Let the transformation begin using some of Waverly's chalk paint in the color of ivory. Now you are going to want to put your paint in a separate container so you don't contaminate the paint by dipping your brush in the bottle. The brushes I started off by using are these chalk and wax brushes. Now, let me also tell you that I did add a bit of water to the chalk paint just to thin it out a wee bit, because chalk paint is on the thicker side, and when you apply a thicker paint, it tends to show the brushstroke lines more than a thinner paint. And so if you thin it out just a little bit before you apply it, you're gonna get next to none of those brushstroke lines when the paint dries. I will also tell you that applying the chalk paint with this stencil wax paintbrush, I ended up not being a fan of it. It was great for the wax, but when applying the paint, I just felt like it could have gone a lot smoother had I just transitioned to a regular paintbrush earlier on, and I did end up doing that. And for those of you who are going to see that I am making a mess on my floor, I'm not somebody who ever tapes things off a lot. I did tape off the floor when I was doing the bottom edge of the cabinets, but I've always been one who just kind of has a bucket of water there with a washcloth, and if I spill, I kind of wipe it up. And that's just how I paint. I'm not saying it's the right way to do it, I'm just saying it's my way to do it. And so yeah, I did end up having to do about I want to say 3 coats of paint on this cabinet to get full coverage because they were so dark. Now, I showed you a smaller bottle of the Waverly Ivory chalk paint because my store did not have the larger bottle of the ivory in. I would recommend getting the larger bottle because you are going to save money, because the larger bottle is about $10 and this smaller one is $7, and you're getting double the amount with the larger one. For this cabinet, it did take me 2 of the medium-sized bottles of the ivory to get the full coverage that I needed and to get the job done. So it was about $14 in the ivory paint that I spent. And this is what the cabinets look like after 3, maybe 4 coats. What's great about chalk paint is it dries pretty quickly, so you can do your second coat within about a half hour to 45 minutes. It doesn't have to be completely dry, just dry to the touch. Once the paint is completely dry, it is good to go to the next step using some of Waverly's wax. And the wax that I'm using is this white wax. Now, again, I'm gonna put this in a separate bowl because I don't wanna contaminate the wax by dipping my brush in and out. Now, I will tell you, this is where the project took a very unexpected turn. And as it took that turn, I wasn't quite sure if I was liking it or not. It wasn't what I was expecting. And so, yeah, this is what happened, using a white wax instead of a clear. I'm aiming for that age-distressed antique look for these cabinets. So to do that, you do want to start off with either a clear or white wax to cover that chalk paint with, seal it kind of before you go ahead and antique wax it, I guess. And I will be using some of Waverly's antique wax to do that. My favorite thing, if you've been following me, absolutely love that color. When applying the wax, you do want to do it in sections. You don't want to apply the wax fully to your whole piece, because once you apply the wax to your chalk paint, which is actually sealing the chalk paint, it starts to harden and cure. And so yeah, you want to do it in sections. This is where the project, like I said, kind of took a turn. You can see as I'm applying the white wax to an ivory door that it is actually changing the color of the chalk paint, the ivory chalk paint. It is really giving it a yellow undertone and changing the color, which isn't something that I was anticipating. I thought white was just that, white. And so I thought it might lighten up the ivory a little bit. But what I didn't think would happen was it would take it from this cream ivory to a buttery color like you see here. Let us pause for a moment and really take a look at the outside of the cabinet versus the inside. That is so frustrating. I was so frustrated as I sat there and saw that, but nonetheless, I continued on because I was already in it. So yeah, let's just go and see what happens. Now, once you've got the wax applied, you do want to go in with a rag. I have 2 different rags here, a dry one and one that I can wet. And you want to wipe off the excess wax so you don't have a thick buildup of wax, because like I said, as you apply it, it starts to harden pretty quickly. You don't have a lot of time. And so that's why I say you want to do this in sections, because if you do your whole project, by the time you go back to the beginning where you started, the wax is gonna have hardened and you're not gonna have as smooth of a surface as you could have had had you just done it in sections and wiped off the excess wax before it hardened and dried. And so although this is the white, I do want to smooth it out because I want a smooth surface. To add some character and personality to these cabinets, I'm gonna go in with some of Waverly's Antique Wax. Surprise, surprise, my all-time favorite stuff to DIY with. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I was nervous about this part throughout the whole project because I just felt like this is where it can go really, really wrong. And so it was really kind of stepping out of my comfort zone and challenging myself to just think like, okay, self, if you mess these up, you can always sand it down. Yes, it's gonna be a headache, but it's fixable. So you're not gonna learn how to do this unless you dive in and do it. And you know what? I think that that's kind of how I challenge myself in life. And you know, I'm gonna go off on a tangent a little bit here. When I'm afraid to do something and make a mistake, I just think like, okay, something like this is fixable. And so I need to not be afraid to make the mistake because I can fix it. Again, is it gonna be a headache to fix? Probably, but it can be fixable. And that's how you learn, is from your mistakes. And I think that that kind of goes with everything in life, is you learn from your mistakes and then you just don't do it again and you try again. And so with this, as I apply the antique wax, I am applying it to those indented areas of the cabinet, the elevated areas, just to kind of give it, again, character, some personality, and really make those parts of the door stand out and highlight them. Now, when applying it too, you can see, applying it very unevenly. And because this is a wax, you do want to move kind of quickly. Then you're gonna wanna go in with that lint-free rag and wipe off the excess wax. Now you will see that it does look a bit messy. It doesn't quite look the way I want it to look because of the way I applied it. And there probably is a way better technique in applying that. But like I said, it was kind of a learn as you go, trial and error. And as I did it, there was, you know, parts of this that I thought, oh, I don't like the way that looks on the front of my door. And so after I wiped off the majority of the excess wax, I thought to myself, okay, self, this is wax. And so you should be able to spread it out a bit easier if maybe I wet the rag with hot water, because this wax, it dries pretty quickly. It hardens pretty quickly, and then it makes it hard to remove off the door or even out or spread out. And so I found that if I put just a bit of hot water on a section of my towel, then went over the antique wax, it smoothed it out. It actually removed some of the imperfections that I wasn't really happy with and cleaned up some of the areas that I wanted the ivory to stand out more and not have distressing in. And so yeah, it's kind of just a process. And it's one of those processes that I kind of like, because I like doing stuff like this and figuring it out and making it work and figuring out a technique that works for me. And so overall, like I said, if you go ahead and remove the excess with the dry rag, then go in and just kind of dampen a section of your rag with some really hot water, you can then clean up that antique wax and really get it to look the way you want it to look. I will say that by the time I got to this door, I was feeling pretty confident in my technique and the way it was turning out, and go figure, this door ended up turning out the best, so much so that I went back and redid the faces of the drawers. There is no better feeling than wrapping up a project, seeing the final outcome, and I was super excited to actually add the hardware, my knobs, back onto the drawers and the doors, because I knew that it was just gonna elevate the look of these cabinets and really finish them off nicely. I love these handles. Don't ask me where I got them, because I didn't put them on the drawers and the doors. The house actually came with it. So again, these two are like 22 years old, but they are such a fantastic handle that there is no way I could do away with them, because every cabinet and drawer in my house has these on it, and it would just be too costly to replace them. And I probably, if I did replace them, wouldn't like the replacements as much as I like these. Let's take a look at this. Overall, I'm gonna say these cabinets turned out amazing. I absolutely love the look of them. I think it's kind of a trial and error, learn as you go kind of process. And once I really started getting to doing it, I started learning a better technique. I started figuring out how to make it look the way I wanted it to look. And so I'm glad that I actually did it in my guest bathroom. I'm not hating it. The thing I am hating is the color of the countertops. It really absolutely clashes with the cabinets, which is kind of a bummer, because when I picked the color out to do the cabinets, I really took into consideration what was gonna go with the countertops, because I didn't wanna run into this problem here. What I didn't expect was using that white wax, that it would take the ivory from being just that, a creamy ivory, to this buttery color with a yellow undertone. That wasn't something I expected. Am I gonna redo these cabinets? I don't know. I feel like if I strip them and sand them down, it's gonna take forever. That may be a project for another day. I don't know how long I'll be able to hold out by looking at the countertops and the cabinets clashing, but overall, minus the countertops, I think the cabinets came out amazing, and it is definitely another project that I'm willing to take on. But I probably will try it out on furniture with the color to see if it works. And that's probably what I should have done with this, but I really just kind of assumed that white wax was just that white wax, that it wasn't going to change the color of the ivory paint, and it did. But anywho, I think that this was a fun project. It cost me under $30 to do, with the 2 bottles of the ivory chalk paint, the white wax, and the antique wax. And it has cured, and you can easily wipe it down. It is not sticky to the touch. And yeah, I love the way they turned out. I hope you all enjoyed this DIY transformation of my bathroom cabinets. If you'd like to see more transformations of me taking some items from trash to treasures that I find at thrift stores, let me know in the comments below, because I like to go off of your feedback. If you're looking for more DIY inspiration today, well, guess what? I've got you covered. You can click on the video right over here, and it'll take you to one of my past favorite DIYs. Until next time, everybody, I hope you have a fantastic day. Happy DIYing, happy crafting on a budget. Stay happy, stay safe, stay healthy, but most of all, you may have to dig a little deep for this one. But I believe in you, and I believe